Hello, good evening. My name is Carlos Gama, and this is the final evidence for the subject of contemporary world. And here I'm gonna do a quick um, video presentation about some of the most important events in the human history that have happened in the 21st century. And like there's a lot of things that have happened in our world since the communist bloc failed. Like have the whole Cold War, the whole war between the United States and the Soviet Union. We had how that affected the world, how the world was essentially either you were with the Soviet Union or you were with the United States. That's why what we call a bipolar world, where two major countries, major forces are the ones that affect the whole world and how everybody live their life. Like inside the whole Cold War, we had events like the missile crisis, we had JFK's assassination, we had the 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 race to the moon. You know how America went first to the moon, but the Soviets went first to space. And of course, we had the whole Russian economy falling, and then that's when Mikhail Gorbachev enters the scene, and with his politics of perestroika and glasnost, he restructures the whole Soviet Union. It stops being the Soviet Union, it becomes Russia. That whole bloc, it divides into a lot of countries like Ukraine and Slovenia, Bosnia, and all that. Croatia as well. Um, then of course it would happen the demolition of the Berlin Wall, that whole symbolism of the world coming to peace to enter the new millennium. Of course, then entering that new millennium with the whole Y2K virus, how people thought that um, almost everything was gonna become obsolete and were gonna enter a new dark age. Then of course we had 9/11, and that's a whole other situation. But first, I want to talk about one concept in particular: globalization. Like, what is globalization? Well, globalization is a phenomenon that happens when a whole space, a whole place in the world, like it becomes bigger. Like it becomes more advanced in technology. A lot of cultures come into it. Like it becomes a globalized place, and that's been really prevalent in a lot of situations in the 21st century. The reason this whole globalization happened, well, you can see like events like, for example, the demolition of the Berlin Wall, how people start to come to peace with with it, but most importantly, the invention of the internet and the easy access to the internet that happened. That that whole situation led to people knowing about more people, the cultures, and all that. That's what led to globalization. Then, of course, one another really prevalent thing at the end of the 20th century and the start of the 21st century is terrorism. With Al Qaeda, Saddam Hussein, 9/11, Osama bin Laden, the Gulf War, all that. Like, terrorism has been really prevalent in the modern human history, you know. And yeah, like you can say that terrorism has been really impactful in the modern human history, but what has caused terrorism? What caused the attacks of terrorism? I could say that it was a fight of ideologies, like the Saddam Hussein, Al Qaeda, all that, like they had a state of mind, like they're really big in their beliefs, and they saw that big America, big United States, that they were opposing to that, and they wanted to prove a point. They wanted to show those Americans, the people of the United States, that they were not untouchable, that they could be harm, and that's what essentially what caused the whole terrorist attacks now. Earlier in the video, I mentioned the concept of bipolar world. But what is a unipolar world? Well, you see, after the Soviet Union failed, it became obsolete. Then there was no bipolar world anymore. It was only one big force, and that was the United States of America. They essentially decided what happened in the world, how all the people were impacted and all that, and that's essentially a unipolar world, where instead of two big powers deciding how everything happened, it was only one, and that only one was the United States. And then, of course, like essentially the most important part of the whole 21st century and the evolution of humankind with all the technology. People call it the digital era. And you know, with inventions like the internet, the smartphones, Bluetooth, a lot of technology that has been affected by this digital revolution, and you can see that it has impacted society in a really big way. Like you can see in the internet a lot of millennials, baby boomers, saying that life was better when technology wasn't advanced as today. That people are dumber or more stupid. No, no, that's not true at all. That is exaggerated. That's fear of advancement. Life today, society today is more smarter. It's easier. It's more impactful. You can expand so much more than you could imagine with the technology that the millennials had, that the baby boomers had, and frankly, I think they're just jealous of the whole advancements that we have done as a society. And I think that society is so much better with all that, you know, like all those things are like some of the most important things that have happened to a modern society, the 21st century. Well, that was essentially it. Thank you so much for your attention. I was Carlos Gama, and I hope you have a good night.